We're live, and if you're listening to this in podcast version, this is the filter in. It's not getting cut out because CJ is not with us tonight. So, and I'm not cutting it out. So the filter in, the first 2 minutes, which are usually YouTube and Twitch exclusive, are going to be in the podcast version. So there you go.
I have a bruise on my nose and a little bit on my eye because I once again took a shoulder at basketball.
Sure wasn't a fight?
It wasn't a fight. It was a friendly shoulder trying to play defense.
Have you ever been in a fight? Like a fight?
A real one? No. We've talked about this on the podcast before.
Oh, we have?
Because
go ahead.
Do you remember when I said there was, I think it was a jigsaw of somebody like looking over the stall into my stall?
Yes.
And what I would say?
Yes.
And the joke was I would be like, and that is pretty much what I would also do if there was a fight.
A fight?
I would be like, it would be mostly like, what? Hang on.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Wait a second.
Well, now that you're saying it, yeah, I do remember telling my one fight story. The funny addendum to that is I was in I wouldn't even call it's definitely not just a fight, but when I was a sophomore in high school, this kid who was once my friend, this kid, Andy Boyle, just fucking cold cocked me in front of the principal's office.
I think you have told me this story.
So I told the story, and like a day later, guy calls up on WIP, makes some Eagles point. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm sorry I hit you. It was Andy Boyle. It was the kid who cold cocked me." Yes.
You finally get your apology.
Yeah, I hadn't talked to him in 30 years.
Wow. Wow.
All right. You ready to go?
Let's do it. We got our fight story in.
Yep.
People are already listening to the podcast. We may as well start talking about the team.
Yeah. Ugh. Can we just talk about fights? Do you have any other fights? The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Cornblau and Cornblau, the official law firm of the process. That's going to be a fun one to talk about again today because we're going to talk about the same thing. Very excited for that. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process at briggsauction.com. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Subscribe at rightstorickysanchez.com/newsletter. Well, you could tell that August is over because these stories are coming. We will talk about Paul George's injured knee, Joel Embiid's injured knee. We will also go over the ESPN BPI projections for the Sixers and the league, give our little predictions. And by the way, I have some sound from Doug Collins' Hall of Fame induction ceremony and a great story to play Mike. Well, I don't have CJ, so I can't do the video. I wanted you to have to look at him, but listening to him, good enough for me, buddy. Good enough for me.
Why would you do that to me?
Well, to torture you. Your reactions to Doug Collins are one of the highlights of the podcast, I think, generally. Hey, thank you to everyone who has joined or donated to our team, our Bark in the Park team, raising money for Providence Animal Center. We have passed the $20,000 mark, which was our goal, thanks to Ricky listener. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants his name said, but agreed to match $6,500 of our funds. And thank you to my dad, who found out we were $850 short last pod. That's why he was calling me that time, and he donated the final $850, which I thought was great. So, but we still have 2 weeks left to raise money, so might as well hit $25,000. And you can still join the team if you want. Remember, if you join the team, raise $100, you get our team t-shirt. Thank you so much to Mortgage CS, LL Pavorsky Jewelers, and DraftKings Sportsbook, who are sponsors of the team this year. 2 pods in the Ricky universe available this week, 2 new ones. A new one from the Draft Council talking about Cam Boozer, and also their little take that Zach Edey is going to win the NBA Rookie of the Year, which I thought was interesting.
I agree with that take.
Oh, you do? Well, there you go. Well, you can find out why they think what they do by searching Draft Council wherever you get your podcasts and listening to it. A new episode of the Carl Landry Record Club this week. We talk about what's going on from Marvin Gaye, Moon Safari from Air, 2 really excellent albums, and a new song from Knocked Loose. This is the only podcast where you're going to hear those three artists on one podcast. And tickets available still for Carl Landry Record Club Live 2 at Underground Arts on November 20th as we celebrate the release of our friend Jason Lipschus's book. It starts with one book about Linkin Park. We'll do a pod, Jason, me, Mutlu, and AU, and then a little new metal night afterwards. We got a DJ in there, listen to some tunes, drink some drinks, and hang out. 2 tickets. There's a $10 GA ticket and a $29 8-cent ticket, which gets you Jason's book and signed as well. Surfside iced tea and vodka. Boy, do we love Surfside. Now, unfortunately, the Phillies season, which is usually a Citizens Bank Park full of Surfsides, is ended much too quickly, but that doesn't mean you can't drink Surfside whenever you want. The regular iced tea and vodka, the iced tea lemonade and vodka, the raspberry, the green tea maybe and vodka. And here's great news. If you live in PA and you used to have to go to a liquor store to get Surfside, you don't anymore. You can get it at beer distributors, which is ridiculous. You couldn't get it there before. Gas stations, supermarkets, wherever they sell canned alcoholic beverages, you can get your Surfside in PA. So that law change is great there. Or if you'd like to just order it online, go to statesidevodka.com and order it there. You got to be 21, remember, to drink it. Without any further ado, Amos, and is this it? I think Amos and Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who, if you tried to fight him, would just go, huh? What? What are we doing here? That's Mike Levin.
Well, I would say it louder than that.
Whoa. Would you do one of those?
Factor. Yeah, something like that.
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay. Maybe that. I think that would do the trick.
So we talked about potentially it being the end of August on the last pod, as this is there will be a Ricky this weekend, but I will not be there. So this is our last pod before the season starts. And it would seem fitting that August would end with a knee injury.
Abrupt end.
Yeah, well, they let us know that we're here. So we want to talk about PG first and then a little bit of Embiid after that. So Paul George, during last night's preseason game against the Atlanta Hawks, where a fly the process will go to, by the way, Paul George poked a ball away, sort of playing defense, went to plant to run and twisted his knee up, all fucked up looking, wasn't there for the second half. We were all ready to collectively just jump off the Walt Whitman Bridge or the Ben or the Betsy Ross, whatever. But some decent news today, per the Sixers. He does not have any structural damage to his knee. He will be reevaluated in a week. The opening game is 8 days away. I think just... Look, an enormous bullet dodged, but just a nice little reminder from hell that it's always waiting to make fucking life miserable. So, boy, it was almost over before it started, buddy. You weren't watching live, of course, right? Because you were working. Yeah.
No, Weber texted me, and it just... Because I'm still trying to be in August mode, even like injuries in the August time period, my immediate reaction is just like, probably fine. It's probably nothing.
Yep.
Probably fine. I don't care. Not gonna matter. Doesn't matter. When the season starts and you see an injury, I think it's a little bit more easy to be like, okay, well, this is bad. But we're still in the everything. You could just unplug the console at this point. Yeah, it hasn't started, so just start it over. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The first angle, I thought it was just a turned ankle. But then the back angle really shows how like weird of a sort of
his knee almost went the wrong way, sort of.
Yeah, it didn't look good. And so, I mean, I honestly couldn't even process it. I didn't even process it. I was like, I will process it if they tell us he's out for the year, and then I will have to. But in the period before we actually know anything, I'm just not going to be able to. And so I didn't. And Gina Mizell said that, like, from his locker, Paul George said he didn't seem too concerned, and that didn't really give me much peace of mind at all.
Nope.
And then
I'll never forget the story, by the way, to that end. When Rajon Rondo tore his ACL, he didn't know it until before the next game when he was warming up, and they came up and told him, hey, by the way, you tore your ACL in that knee thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, I guess, you know, just to your point there, you never know until you get the imaging back.
You never know. And yeah.
Look, the good news is Robert Covington only missed 4 months with a bone bruise.
It just would feel, it feels so, on the last podcast, I was like waiting for something to go wrong. I said that.
Yeah.
And like a little obvious to the world that, Paul George in his second game with the Sixers in a preseason game, there he goes. It's over.
Yeah, bad writing, right? A little
it's just
too
like,
on the nose.
It's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Give me a meteor or something. Meteor falls to Earth, hits just Paul George. Like, we need an escalation. You can't just have the same shit again and again.
Yeah,
so that would have been annoying.
Bart Simpson's in detention. Oh, writing on the chalkboard. Right. What a shocker. Yeah.
It's a little canned at this point, but
yeah. I'm
glad he's okay. Let him ease in. Him and Embiid are not going to be playing any back-to-backs, or maybe sometimes
we'll get to
back
that.
or backs.
Yeah.
Just fucking get me to April, man. Just get me to April alive. Let Maxey not have to carry the biggest load in the fucking world. And let's just survive until April. That's it.
Yeah, so I would guess he's not going to play in the opener, given that the opener is 8 days away. It was AU tweeted earlier today that he is basically with Sixers injuries right now. And I think he's lying. I think he's just telling himself this. But he's basically like, okay, whatever. And just sort of coasts along. Yeah. This one, in that every season we do now, they'll go on for 100 years, obviously, but every season we do feels like it could be the last one of whatever this is. So now I'm starting to get precious about them. And I did have this little moment of, don't do this to me in this particular year.
Yeah.
I would rather you just fucking obliterate me and have them lose in the second round of the playoffs to the fucking Cavs or something. Let me believe for 5 months, 6 months before you take it away from me. And I just felt like they were like, there was this fear. I was trying to act calm, but I wasn't calm. There's just this fear that they were going to take it away from me. Yeah, just don't take this season away from me.
To do a fucking Embiid and Paul George never play together. That's it. That's that. It's just aggravating. I did have a vision, even as I was trying not to process it. I did have a vision of us on this podcast, and for maybe like a month or two, me going like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. What are we doing? Why are we talking about this? The team doesn't matter. And you being like, Mike, can we talk about the team in a way that maybe that things could work out to make it an interesting product? And I'm like, no, we can't. We can't actually. So what are we doing? I can just wait. I'll sit here in silence for an hour twice a week.
You were doing one of our fights.
I was doing one of our fights where I was being extremely emotional, and you were trying to be like, but like we have a product to put out. And I'm like, I don't care about the product. This is the product. The product is me being earnest, and the earnestness leads me to not say anything for an hour straight.
Yeah.
And that would have sucked. But what would have happened the next beat of that is Caleb Martin takes a step forward.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good. Ricky Council turning the corner and me going like, well, hang on a second. Maybe they can do it. And that's obviously just as wrong. Very wrong. But I saw the whole thing laid out and being like, and then we get to March and it's like Paul George could come back for a couple games, get a little warm.
Yeah.
I just saw the whole thing laying out and I was like, what a fucking bullshit. And I hear you about the becoming precious about it. It really is just like, we don't have much time left in the Joel prime-ish era.
Because it's not only the beginning, as you said.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, can we just not fucking explode on liftoff, please? Can we get into the atmosphere a little bit before we're just like lighting ourselves ablaze? So I'm glad that it's not. It seems like it's not. I'm not ruling anything out. They could be like, oh, we were reading the x-ray backwards or whatever the fuck. It's upside down. Fuck.
This was actually somebody
dead.
else's x-ray.
This is somebody else. But he's okay and it's fine. And is he definitely not playing in the opener?
No, they haven't said that, but it's
Okay.
8 days away, and he's not going to be reevaluated for another week. So
They need a fucking new word than reevaluated. They need a new goddamn word. It's enough. It's enough.
yeah, we've had enough evaluations and reevaluations.
Yeah, I've evaluated myself and I don't like what I see.
Yeah.
So what now then?
Yeah. By the way, before we get to the next thing, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right there and turn on notifications for when we're live. You'll get notified. You'll also save CJ's job. I don't know if I can do that bit again, but subscribe, notifications when we go live after games. You'll get a little notification. You'll be able to watch it live, get our unfiltered emotional response. So right there. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Cornblau and Cornblau, the official law firm of the process. Mike, I don't know if you've heard, but Cornblau is looking for another lawyer to join the firm.
Okay, I haven't gotten any applications yet to sift through, so he hasn't narrowed it down. He hasn't winnowed the candidates to two yet.
No, so Cornblau is the best personal injury law firm in southeastern PA and the Delaware Valley, and he is growing, and because he's fucking good at his job, and they do great work, and so they need another lawyer, and he would love to hire a Ricky listener who is a lawyer, by the way, just that caveat. He is looking for somebody with at least 7 years experience doing litigation work. He wants somebody with excellent writing skills, experience taking depositions, responding to discovery requests, interest in doing trial work, licensed in PA in New Jersey. It's hybrid, so you be home sometimes. You're going to be doing all sorts of civil litigation cases, medical malpractice, accident-related cases, breach of contract disputes, all that sort of stuff. And you're going to participate in every part of litigation, from intake to trial. So client intake, assisting with litigation strategy, sitting second chair at trial, all that kind of stuff. What does Cornblau offer? Well, aside from being announced on this podcast when he hires somebody, excellent salary, hybrid, health insurance with HSA, 401k, opportunity for growth, and you get to see Cornblau all the time. And Mike will interview you. Final interview is with Mike. The first couple of interviews with Cornblau, then the final interview is with Mike. So if you're interested in this, we would love to tell the story of the fucking listener that went to work for Cornblau.
Yes.
Send an email to hr@cornblau.com. That is spelled Kornblau.
Well, hang on. Who's HR? I've never heard of this HR person.
It's HR Cornblau, his uncle.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Henry Richard Cornblau.
Cornblau, yes. So just goes by HR because it's easier.
Cool.
HR@cornblauandcornblau.com. Kornblau. The and is spelled out. HR@cornblauandcornblau.com. Please, if you are qualified, I need this to happen so badly. All right. So on to Embiid. And there's not specific news aside from I just want to present to you something. I'm doing some tea leaf reading. So there was a story by Tim Bontemps on ESPN Headline, how the 76ers plan to get Joel Embiid to the finals. Quote, there's one thing missing. Here's a little blurb from it. The 30-year-old Embiid is doing his part, arriving at training camp having lost 25 to 30 pounds with the goal to lose more, pointing to how Hall of Fame big man Tim Duncan transformed his body as his career progressed as inspiration. Embiid hopes a slimmer version of himself can better handle the rigors of the NBA season. Quote, it's just the evolution of your body and getting older and finding ways to stay afloat and be as dominant as I've always been. And after playing in just 433 of a possible 637 games across the last 8 seasons, which actually sounds high, I feel that number seems high, not counting the first 2 years of his career that were lost to foot injuries, Embiid's days of playing back-to-backs appear to be over. If I had to guess, Embiid said, I would probably never play back-to-backs the rest of my career. We're going to be smart about it, Morey said. Part of being smart is having both Paul and Joel probably not play many back-to-backs, if any. So we had the scheduled knee thing, the checkup. We had
Wait, can I comment on the article first?
Yes.
The Embiid saying if I had to guess I'd probably never play back-to-backs the rest of my career, I think is him kind of making a rule for himself.
Yes.
In a way that I can relate to, because this is a pointless story, but I'm in the middle. I already said the first word of it, so I may as well keep going.
Yeah.
On set there's like a catering line, and so there's just like a bunch of different, there's like a veggie, a chicken, a fish, some like rice and all this, whatever the stuff. It's a bunch of good food that they do a good job. And at the end of the line is dessert. Mm-hmm. Every day there is dessert, like a ton of different kinds of dessert, chocolate cake, pie, red velvet stuff. Yep. And I've sort of just had to make it a rule in my mind. It's like, I can't eat dessert. I'm not allowed.
Yep.
I'm not allowed to eat dessert. There's like writers aren't allowed to eat dessert in the crew line, so I'm not allowed to do it. And I think that a little bit that is what Joel is doing in my reading of this, of him going like, it is actually against the law for me to play in back-to-backs.
Just so he has laid down the expectation for himself as much as everybody else.
Yes, it can't happen. And obviously in the playoffs, there's no back-to-backs in the NBA playoffs. There are in baseball, but there's not in NBA.
Well, there's not baseball playoffs, so we don't have to worry about that.
Right, they canceled those. Those will never happen again.
Don't exist.
But yeah, so I don't mind him doing that, and I relate to it, and I think it is a good rule to have, even as like normies will see that and go like, what do you mean? Like, you're not going to come play in Charlotte? Someone's going to say like, my hard-earned money to see visiting Joel Embiid play in person. And it's like, just watch him on TV then. Like, it's fine.
Honestly, doing it this way, it helps those people because it's like understand that there's a real possibility now. And really, what do they have? 14 back-to-back, like it's 7 games or something. It's not an extraordinary number of games. So I was arguing with a guy at we do our Monday shows at Chickies and Pete's and in the commercial break, and there's the people that are just like, and I get it though, they drive me crazy. The people are just like, it's never going to work with him. It's never going to work. Is that like that have just given up? And he goes, no back-to-backs, huh? And I'm like, yeah, what do you care? And he was like, well, because I want them to win games. And I was like, dude, this is so they can win a championship. That's what you care about, right? And he said, yeah. And I was like, Kawhi Leonard. He goes, yeah, that guy has a championship. And I said, he got a championship not playing back-to-backs. I lost it. So
the thing that like frustrates me about those kinds of things, and we've talked about this on the podcast, is, and sometimes I've gotten annoyed at you for saying this kind of thing sometimes, where it's like, it's easy to say something's not going to work. It's easy to say it's not going to work because one team wins a championship every year.
Yes.
And the other 29 teams, it didn't work.
Yes.
So your odds are good for it not working.
Yes.
And obviously I was wrong in saying that Ben and Joel, I'm not looking at the camera, have a 50% chance of winning a championship. That didn't happen. That I should have gone like 49%.
Yeah.
I oversold it by a little.
You don't have to look at me when you say it. Yeah.
But odds of Joel winning a championship in his career are low, just like the odds of anyone winning a champion. The odds of, I mean, he's got 15 years probably, but the odds of Wembanyama winning a championship are still like probably under 50.
Oh, it's probably under 25. I mean, it probably is. It's just most players don't win championships. That's just sort of like the way the NBA works. So yeah, Yes, without belaboring that argument, I understand what you're saying. It's very easy to say that it won't
It's easy
work.
to say that. And so, obviously, when everything's going wrong in Philadelphia, the Eagles fucking suck. The Phillies lost in the same exact way every time. The Sixers have not made it past the second round and are going to be plagued by injuries to their injury-prone
Best players.
two of their best players.
Yep.
It's easy to say it's not going to work.
Yes.
But the what it goes from there is like, what is the alternative?
Yes. Well, that's what we did. I was like, well, what do you want to do? So, like, anyway, that all leads me to this. Reading the tea leaves, I just don't be surprised if Joel's not there opening night. Is just sort of like clearly, and they keep talking about ramping him up, and I don't get the sense that anything set him back or anything, but I just would not be very surprised if he's not playing there opening night. And I would, last thing, I've said this before, I know you don't care about this, but I do think it is meaningful, is that like, if they think this is a possibility, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to just sort of like soft land it a week before, as opposed to the day before, everyone going, oh, by the way, Joel's not playing, and it's the most anticipated Sixers season we've had in forever. And then all of a sudden they know about Paul George, and then they find out the day before. And mostly because nobody, like, I never even thought about it as a possibility until like the last week, that like, man, I don't know if he's ready, and they're not saying it. And that's sort of like where I am on it. So I have no inside information, but my gut is telling me that this is a real possibility. So
I think that's fair.
Thank
and
you.
I'm annoyed by it. And I don't disagree, especially for the opener. If you're like, Embiid is trying to be ready for the opener, but
it could be a week
questionable.
too, or a week and a half, or
It's a week from tomorrow.
no, I'm saying like maybe he doesn't play until week 2. I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't feel like, and again, it's hard to put all this together because I don't have like info on it. I don't think that the Olympics thing did any, he obviously didn't look right during the Olympics, you know? So, and that was what, 2.5 months ago, whatever it is. I guess I'm just like, just be prepared. I'm trying to get everybody prepared for Joel Embiid potentially not being there opening night, especially when we now know that there's a very real possibility that Paul George is going to be there opening night, and it's just going to be fucking Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre each shooting 35 times a night, and we're just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to
Embiid.
miss those games.
Yes.
I would like him to play in them.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy hard start to the season. First 9 games, not great, but you know, Bucks, Raptors, Pacers, Pistons, Grizzlies, Suns, Clippers, Lakers, Hornets. That's their first 9. And if they miss, you know, if Joel and Paul George are out for those, like, you go 4-5 and you're okay. You go 2-7,
Not okay.
not okay.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Why do we have to?
Yep.
Couldn't it be different?
Yep. We could
Couldn't
just
it be? What about zagging when everyone else zigs?
and
You think?
how are
You
we
think?
gonna
Oh, is
zag?
it obvious that Joel and Paul George are going to be hurt over and over again? What if they're not at all?
Never hurt.
What if they're the healthiest they've ever been? They're too healthy.
Yep. What if they tried that? What if you should try? Let me just propose this to the Sixers. You should try having nobody hurt the entire year. Seriously,
I think that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
The fucking, they have like the limitless drug or like a vampire's blood that just heals itself.
Mm-hmm.
He has the knees from you know Rookie of the Year, the baseball movie.
Yes.
So that, except for now they both have those knees. Got crazy knees. They're jumping out of the ceiling. jumping out of the building. They can do a front flip dunk now because of their Rookie of the Year knees.
Yeah.
Their Henry Rowan Gardner knees.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
For Fly the Process this year, we're going to Atlanta, dunk away the demons. As we go to Atlanta, Mike and the Sixers have to attempt at least 8 dunks to
Gotta
get
be
rid.
8.
Got to be 8 to get rid of the hex put on us by the Ben Simmons pass dunk. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We go with fans of Philly. It is in March. We leave Friday morning, March 21st. Come back on the 24th. Stay at a great hotel, the Omni Atlanta Hotel Centennial Park. We have not been in the Southeast for Fly the Process. It's always an awesome time. We've had several emails asking about bringing, your kids or your significant others. These trips are good for family members, like for younger kids. I think we saw a 10-year-old, 12-year-old last year, teenage, cool, significant other who's maybe not into basketball, cool, because most of the trip is not basketball, it's just hanging out. We'll have a great time with fans of Philly. Go to rightsrickysanchez.com/fly to reserve your spot. You don't have to pay for it all at once. There are packages without flight as well. And if you need a custom package, like flying from somewhere other than Philly, just send an email to joe@fansophilly.com. So Fly the Process, dunk away the demons in Atlanta. Rights to RickySanchez.com/fly. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Briggs Auction. Briggs Auction. We love Briggs Auction. So Briggs, I love having the CJ item of the week, but CJ's not with the pod tonight, so he can't show you the item of the week. What I will tell you is that Briggs Auction is a 4-generation family-owned and operated auction house in Delco, and they have become just like the premier online auction place in the Delaware Valley. It's awesome. It's been awesome to see them grow. Very proud of them. I have a lot of fun with the Briggs auction. So there's a new auction basically every week. They have 2 up there right now, one that ends on the 18th and then one that ends on the 25th. My favorite sections are going to it. And by the way, you can download the app in Google Play or the App Store, or just go to briggsauction.com. Every auction, whether it's a state auction, discovery auction, is broken up into different categories. Here's the ones I go to. I go to art, I go to clothing, I go to collectibles, and occasionally, just as I'm feeling saucy, I go to vehicles just to see what's there. I don't need any of them, but I think it's fun. In the collectibles one, in the 18th auction, there are 3. Did you have a lunchbox when you were in grade school, like an actual lunchbox, or were you after that era?
Oh, people definitely had lunchboxes, and I think I was like a little envious of them, but my parents were like crisp paper bag people. My dad really had a good handle on a paper bag. Sometimes my dad loved leaving a note in there, knowing that I would find it ridiculous. Mom loading up the bag with some good stuff. It was a real brown bag lunch situation for the most part.
I had a lunchbox. There is a lot in the most recent Briggs auction with the old metal lunchboxes, which definitely could have been before your time. But there is a Transformers one, a Walt Disney one, a Peanuts one, and a Muppet Babies one. It's only at $20. I would love to have these lunchboxes. Nice. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck
Get your kid a lunchbox.
Yeah, get your kid a lunchbox. Or look what else they have. Again, Briggs Auction, we love it. If you win a lot, and most of the auctions most of the lots start at like as little as $1. If you win a lot, easy pickup on Saturdays, open pickup, or just by appointment during the week, or they could work with a shipper to send it to you. And if you are downsizing in any way or have a big collection of stuff and want to auction it somewhere, nobody will take the care and has the sort of like regular audience and regular buyers like Briggs does. Send an email to info@briggsauction.com. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the Ricky. So before we get to the BPI and season predictions, I wanted to read you a part of an article and then play you a little bit of sound, if you don't mind. The headline of the article, and this is, I recommend everybody read it, by Gordy Jones at Liberty Ballers. The headline, Doug Collins is a Hall of Famer, and he made sure to soak up the moment. You're going to like this.
Okay.
I'm just going to read. These graphs are great. So the dripping sarcasm this article is written with is really just one of a kind. You usually don't see this at Liberty Ballers because most of the Liberty Ballers writers are not old and jaded enough to like write something this sarcastic, but like Gordy Jones clearly is. You know, most of the writers for Liberty Ballers are still so optimistic about life. So here is Doug Collins' Hall of Fame induction speech was already approaching Jerry Lewis telethon lengths when he mentioned meeting NBC Sports executive Dick Ebersol in 1998. A fortuitous thing that, as it would result in Collins becoming a fixture on NBA telecasts for years to come for NBC and others. One thing he taught me, Collins said of Ebersol, was storytelling. And here the crowd in a half-full Springfield Symphony Hall chuckled.
Half full.
Yep. Why, yes, everyone was well aware by that point in the evening that Collins could spin a yarn, that he was only too happy to detail a career that saw him become a star-crossed Sixers player at one point and later saw him transition to coaching, with some of his time on the bench also spent in Philadelphia. Mostly, the crowd stuck with him as he barreled through his half-hour presentation. But certainly...
If I'm ever barreling through a speech, just shoot me in the back of the head.
But certainly, there were those who squirmed, those who studied their phones, and those who glanced back at the facade of the mezzanine in the place where a time clock counted down the 10 minutes allotted to each of the 13 inductees in this year's class. It hung right next to the teleprompter in plain view of those offering the remarks on stage. Collins, inducted as a contributor to the game, had just
contributor.
Contributor
Contributor is good. Wait, let me just while I'm doing this. There's a when Stephen Hawking died.
Yes.
Do you remember the Kirstie Alley tweet?
Barely. What did she say?
Thank you for your input.
Oh yes.
About Stephen Hawking.
I remember.
Which is so
that.
funny. And the contributor to the game is very thank you for your input.
Thank him for his input.
Yes, exactly.
Collins, inducted as a contributor to the game, had just finished describing his experience with the ill-fated 1972 Olympic team as his time ran out. He nonetheless continued, even as another timer appeared, this one rimmed in red with the words "rap" underneath it in large letters. That one expired after 7 minutes and was replaced by a sign. Not a timer, just a sign. Same big letters, same red background. "Rap now," it said, in all caps. Collins was undaunted. You know what I feel like right now, he asked? I feel like, remember Jimmy Valvano? He said, do I care about that red light? Comparing himself to Jim Valvano.
Yeah.
God bless his soul, who died, who everyone thinks of because he fucking died, unfortunately, of cancer.
Yeah. And Collins is like, am I being a little bit iconic right now? Am I counterculture here?
So then
Ridiculous.
I just thought you might want to hear
just one of the most unpleasant people of all in basketball history. He's not Colangelo level. Maybe he is. He wasn't as responsible as Jerry was for some downfall. He was just like a bad hang all the time.
So I wanted you to hear this. Hold on. Just a couple of quick clips.
The one thing I've tried to tell my children, my grandchildren, is in my life, if you look at my career, I've never been afraid to fail.
Well, that's right.
That's one thing that young people today...
You're goddamn right, Doug.
Put our arms around them because kids are afraid to fail, and they look at it as failure instead of a way to grow.
Ugh.
And I would think...
I can smell his breath. I can smell his breath in this clip.
And I will tell you, I got a lot of scars. But I grew from them.
Okay, so then, hold on, one more. It just flipped to a yet another Linger cover. Here we go.
Anybody who knows me knows that. Well, anybody who knows me knows I had to bring a little prop up here.
It's a basketball.
And I will tell you what this represents.
Pretty cool.
To me.
I'm being a little bit weird.
Around the room. 8 pounds
you guys mind if I be a little bit fucking weird?
And what it's done for all of our lives. It has given me a life that I can't even imagine. Travel the world.
It's a basketball.
All expenses paid. either playing the game, coaching the game, or broadcasting a game that I love with all of my heart and soul.
There we go.
I hate when people in speeches say like the most obvious shit in the world. It's like, yeah, we all know. We all know that we don't need to say it. It is a waste of time. It'd be like a best man speech and be like, Webster's defines friend. And it's like, fucking shut up, dude. Just say it. Say the interesting thing that is relevant. And don't just be like, well, let me start at the beginning. Basketball looks like this. Does everybody know? It's like, come on, man. What a rough hang.
Yeah.
What a brutal hang.
Dude, him barreling through fucking 3 rap signs.
Good for Gordy. Barreling.
Oh, man.
The barreler.
Barreler. Okay, so as we look ahead to the season, Mike, ESPN did their BPI projections, which is their computer rating thing, and wanted to let you know where the Sixers were in their BPI projections. So they did the odds that the team will win the title and the odds that the team will make the finals. Who do you think was the number one in both of those?
Oh, I'm looking at it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, then don't guess.
I won't be guessing.
Yeah.
I could guess with some accuracy if that would help.
Well, so number one is the Celtics, 26% chance to win the title, 38.6 to make the finals.
Fair.
Number two, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 12.5% to win the title, 24% to make the finals.
Yeah.
And number three, I feel like we've been taunted with these fucking stats and projections for our whole fucking miserable lives. Number three, the Philadelphia 76ers, who also have a 12.5% chance to win the title, a slightly less chance to make the finals, 22%. Rounding out the top 10, the Mavericks, the Cavs, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, the Bucks, the Heat, and the Grizzlies.
Look, I'm not disputing this. I think an unbiased arbiter of truth could see this and go like, yeah, that's an incredibly reasonable ranking and percentage and stuff like that. But the Sixers in this era have never finished as the third team remaining. They have never been a top 4 team.
Yes.
Last 4 teams standing in the playoffs. So I don't think they should be allowed to be projected to do that until they do that.
I think that's a fair request.
It's like in fantasy, like Deshaun Watson, who does suck in every way, is still projected to get like 23 points a game.
Every week.
And it's like, he's never done that this year.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, so every week, the system thinks he is going to have his best week of the season. And he never does. He lost to the fucking dog shit Eagles. And it doesn't adjust. And so I think that the Sixers shouldn't be allowed to be projected to finish that high until they do. Vegas should be like, we're going to play it safe.
Yeah.
We're going to not look like fools.
Yes.
This BPI. So I don't think that they should be allowed to, but I do understand it, even though I am scared of it.
One interesting note, because in the top 16, I did not see the New York Knicks. Post Karl Anthony Towns trade.
That's wild.
The Knicks went from 3% to win the championship to 1% to win the championship.
That's pretty crazy.
And the Timberwolves actually jumped up to number 6 with a 4.8% chance to win the championship. So
Wow.
the Knicks odds actually went down. They have lower possibility to win the championship than the Rockets, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Suns.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think that their top end talent is not nearly good enough. And I would
Knicks.
Yeah, and I would guess that now it's weird because the Suns are sort of low, but I would guess that this, like most NBA projections, because it's so reliant on top end talent, puts a very high importance on that, and the Knicks don't have it. And I think it gets, like, the Knicks will be tough to play against, but I think when you start putting their top three against the other top threes of contending teams, it just doesn't measure up in any way, and I think that would be my guess.
It's strange because the Pacers are not here either in the top 16, a team that finished in the conference finals last year.
Yep.
The Cavs are fifth.
Yes.
Is odd to me.
No, I think the Cavs have no chance of winning the championship. So
BPI has them at 11.7%.
Yep.
That's high.
Yes.
That's very high. It feels, and I kind of feel this way every year. Every year since the LeBron versus the Warriors has felt pretty wide open to me.
Yep.
And even the Celtics, who are the kind of the overwhelming favorite once again, but just like the Bucks were the overwhelming favorite, just like the Nuggets were the overwhelming favorite after they won, it is just hard to repeat. It's just very hard to do it. Everything's got to go right. It does feel wide open, especially the Mavs made the finals last year. I'm not looking at the Mavs like, well, they're a lock to get back there.
No.
The Thunder people are assuming are going to take a big leap forward. I think that's probably right. I think it's probably likely that they finish as the 1 seed, but they're not unbeatable compared to...
I don't feel like they are this impending force that it is inescapable, really. And they have good players, but I think you could make a similar argument with them from a top end, talent perspective. Like outside of Shea, they have good players, but nobody else is in the top 15 range really on their team. So
I just think it's like a very interesting. It's not to knock the Thunder. I love the Thunder. I think their team is sick, and I would probably pick them to come out of the West. But I certainly don't feel super confident in that, especially when Jokic is still there.
Yeah,
especially when the Wolves looked as good if Ant takes another step forward. I do personally think the Grizzlies are going to be quite good if they stay healthy. They have the Kings at 12. That's pretty cool. Healthy, in shape Zion. The Clippers are 15. The Rockets get a taste. I don't know. It's just fun. I love NBA basketball. I like it being kind of wide open, and it feels wide open until every year when then it gets winnowed down and you're like, oh, I guess it wasn't wide open because now here's who resulted in this.
It's wide open for everybody but us.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It feels inevitable after the fact.
Yes.
But before, it does feel like I could make a case for so many of these teams winning. The Heat being 9 feels crazy.
Yeah, fuck the Heat, man.
I do think Jimmy's going to have a bounce back year, but I just don't think they're that good of a team.
He just wants a contract. That's the Jimmy thing. It's a contract here. The Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Number one place to bet touchdowns, which if you're just a new DraftKings Sportsbook person, easy to bet whether somebody's going to score a touchdown or not. Real quick on DraftKings Sixers, the opening night line is out there for Sixers Bucks. Would you like to guess what the line is?
Oh my
Bucks
God.
at Sixers.
It's crazy. The line is out.
Yeah.
When so much is unknown.
Yeah.
I'll say probably Sixers 4.5.
3.5.
3.5.
3.5. And Sixers.
I might take the Bucks.
Looking at the futures here, the Celtics are the favorite to win the title at plus 310. Then the Thunder at plus 700. The Knicks at plus 800, which I think is a bad bet. And then the Sixers at plus 900. After that, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves. And Mike, would you like to pick the line? DraftKings Sportsbook, the Eagles are down to -3 over the Giants on Sunday.
Poof. Oof.
Here's my bet. I don't know what wait, hold on, let me look. What I would tell you is whatever
200 yards from Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, whatever the over/under is on Malik Neighbors' yards, bet the over.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me look.
I bet it's like probably 83.5 or something like that.
Actually, it's not up there because I don't think Neighbors has been cleared yet.
Yeah.
From his concussion.
Yeah. And if he's not going to play, then fucking Darius Slayton. 180 yards for Darius Slayton. It's like, come on.
If you're new to DraftKings, get in there, bet on a touchdown, something like that. And if you're a new customer, again, bet $5, start slow, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code RTRS. That is code RTRS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets. When you bet just $5 only at DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. Some quick Sixers season over-unders for you. Wins, and these are my numbers, not DraftKings Sportsbook, though I bet the DraftKings number is close on this one. 53.5 over under.
I will say under.
I'm actually looking to see what the actual bet on that is. Here we go. Wins. The Sixers are at 50.5. That's the real number.
So you said it high.
Yeah, I said it high.
Yeah, 50.5 would be harder to.
I would take the over at 50.5.
Okay.
At DraftKings. Over under Joel Embiid games played 54.5.
I'll say over. Let's be optimistic. Why the fuck not? What harm is there in being optimistic
None.
for our guy?
Yeah, no harm at all. That won't come back to bite you. I'll go the over too. Why the fuck not? Over under games played from Paul George. I'm setting it at 61.5.
I'm going to say under. I would love it for, let's just start at it being over 0.5 and we'll take it day by day.
Let's
Jesus
do
Christ.
one game.
Let's do one single game
Yeah.
that matters.
I think I know where you're going with this based on some other ones we've done like this, but over under Joel Embiid points per game, 28.2.
Under, hard under, smash it.
Over.
Don't do it.
It's going to go over.
Shouldn't be allowed to.
Over under Joel Embiid assists per game, 5.8.
In my league, and in Alyssa's league, you score out at a certain level. Sometimes it's either 20 or 25 based on the game. You're not allowed to score more than that in a rec league game.
Okay.
So I think Joel should not be legally allowed to score more than that. He should score out at 25.
Assists, 5.8.
5.8?
Yeah.
I'll say over. I'll say he took the assist leap that I've been asking him to take as a passer for years and years. I didn't think he could do it, and he did it for a lot of last year. Obviously missed most of the year. And now Paul George is there. I think he wants to commit to it. I think let's get him a couple triple doubles with assists. Let's really just like make him into that guy. So I'm going to say he's going to be over 6.
Okay.
Like 6.1, that kind of thing.
Over under total number of 2-week injuries for Joel Embiid. I'm setting the number at 2.5.
And so define that for me.
He is out due to injury for a minimum of 14 days.
Okay, so this is just an after the fact. Oh, he
Yeah.
ended up missing 2 weeks from that injury.
Yes. Correct.
Not a reevaluated in 2 weeks.
Correct.
If he misses 4 weeks, does that count as 2 separate 2-week injuries?
No, that
Okay,
counts
good.
as 1.
Good. So plays, misses 2 weeks minimum, and then plays again.
Yep.
And you're saying
2.5.
I'll say under.
Okay. Over under Tyrese Maxey points, 24.7.
Over.
I'm going to go under too. I'm going to go under. I know that would be less than last year, but also Paul George is on the team this year.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, Tobias, though. Did you forget?
Do you remember how many points he scored in that last playoff game of his?
I've been counting it for a while.
Yeah, 0.
I'm not quite done. The
Yeah.
calculator is starting to heat up. There's steam coming out of it.
Over under total minutes that Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond share on the court this season. I'm setting the number at 3.5 minutes.
I was ready for this. I was ready to pounce, and he's at 3.5, and that is short. Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
if they play 12 seconds in one game,
That would count as a minute.
and that counts as a minute,
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. I think the system should be thrown away. In that flawed system, I will say over 3.5.
Okay, but in the unflawed system, would you say under 3.5?
Yes.
Okay. Over under games started by Eric Gordon, 28.5.
Interesting.
Interesting to note that Eric Gordon started against the Hawks. Caleb Martin started on the bench. Nick Nurse said he's playing around with lineups, thought that the bench needed some energy. I like that Caleb Martin seems open to that on some level, or they wouldn't have done it, I don't think. So
yeah, it's weird. Like Oubre is likely going to decline his option and become a free agent.
Yeah.
So he would like to be treated, theoretically, who knows from person to person, but at least situationally, Oubre needs to be a starter more than Caleb needs to be a starter. Mm-hmm. Caleb, who is locked into this contract for 3 years. So I do think Oubre is a better off the bench guy, but Caleb is more prone to be willing to take it since he'll be here for a longer time. Mm-hmm. Eric Gordon, I'll say over.
Yeah, I'm going to say over as well. Predictably. I'm sorry. I'm predictable in a lot of ways. All right. Total number of what the fuck controversies for the Sixers. Now, I consider a what the fuck controversy anything from the Oubre bike thing to Color Star. I'm setting the number at over under 2.5.
Okay, so then we have to agree as a thing happens.
Whether it's one of those
I think we
stories.
can beat the phrase "what the fuck" controversies, but I obviously know what you mean.
Yep.
I think as we need contemporaneous decision making of does this qualify?
Yes.
As that.
Yep.
So we should be mindful of that. And if CJ, if you're listening to this podcast, which you should be,
You little motherfucker.
then make a note of it, and we can make a note of it as the season goes on. So you're saying 2.5.
Over under number is 2.5.
I'm going to say under.
Oh, I'm saying
This is
over.
a normal year. We're being normal. We're normaling.
Most easy over I've ever gone in my life.
Well, like if say, God forbid, knock on wood, whatever, Paul George ends up, it's like, well, he actually is missing the whole year.
That's not one of these stories.
Okay. I just wanted to sort of set the tone. So we need a Color Star. You need a Zaire sesame allergy.
Yeah.
You need a Kelly Oubre accident type of thing. You need one of those.
Yes.
I will say under.
Okay.
I'm not saying 0. That's crazy. But I think we could land at 1 or 2 in the most normal season yet.
All right. I have 2 more. Total trades the Sixers make between now and the trade deadline, over under 2.5.
Under.
Okay. Over under 1.5.
I'm going to say under.
Okay. So you think there's just 1?
I think there's just 1.
Okay. And then
maybe there's multiple guys in it, but I think an injury would obviously change things. If Drummond got hurt or something like that, then that would require a trade. But I'm going to say under.
And final one from me. Over under leaks / stories that Paul George isn't that happy here. I'm setting the number at 0.5.
Fuck. Isn't that happy here? I would like to broaden this scope.
Okay.
And I would like to include something involving the word sacrifice.
Okay.
Because you might not get a full unhappy, but you might get a soft unhappy. Soft, he is really actually being a good guy here. What a generous young man we have in Mr. George. I will say over, and whether it's like Shams or Chris Haynes or Mark Stein or whoever, I will say we're getting one Paul George leaked attitude story at some point.
And unless you demand we do it, I'm going to refrain from our what's going to happen this year predictions. They don't matter, and I have no idea. So
just fucking be healthy. Survive.
Yeah.
Survive.
So one last thing I wanted to present to you, because we got a little pushback from our listeners, but then I had these two things about Jared McCain. So first we got this email from Nikki from Austria, which is a different place than Australia.
Very different, yeah.
Yep. Nikki says, did you hear the Celtics commentators the other night drooling over our guy, Jared McCain? I know you two are not the most fervent believers in him, but I loved hearing Brian Scalabrini's saltiness when talking about McCain as a Sixer. Also, Spike made a broadcast appearance in the first preseason game when they showed a clip of Daryl's ping pong and Butler gaslighting event. I'm sure other people have mentioned this to you before. Anyway, I loved seeing you guys, even though Kate did not use the opportunity to say the name. By the way, I'm finally going to my first Sixers game ever. I'm taking my wife to New York for a few days before making our way down to South Philly on the 30th of October versus the Pistons. Paul Reed revenge game. Can't wait. So we have that from Brian Scalabrini. And then my friend Sam Esfandiari on Light Years, the Warriors podcast, made sure to point out to me that he said this, and he does believe it. So here is Sam on Jared McCain.
Is Maxey the best player on that team? Maybe, but he will never get the ball in.
Jared McCain is my man. My hot take is McCain will be better than Maxey in 4 years. I'm very. Jared McCain is potentially the first true Steph disciple. That's my take.
Not Reed Shepherd.
Oh, okay, sorry. Same draft. They're both they both do the subtle nuance on off-ball stuff that Steph does, as opposed to the Trae Young, I want to do only the flashy stuff he does. They both play like guys who actually studied how Steph moves off ball, how he rotates between the two, how he uses his gravity to impact the game. I'm not saying either of them will be him, but like, you know what I mean when it looks like someone's actually doing the little things he does versus someone's like, I'm pulling up from 30 because I'm Steph.
I thought Sam's perspective as somebody who has watched more Steph Curry than, just about anybody could, watching Jared McCain and saying, I see similar things that Steph Curry does. I just thought it was interesting, especially when we were pretty similar on a guy, which we never are. So it probably were wrong, but I don't know.
Look, I liked hearing it.
Yes.
I liked hearing it. I think it's nice. I did have a couple people reach out to me in the know that like it's not just smoke, that Jared McCain does look very good in practice and in camp and stuff, which is cool. Great. Love to hear that also, whether it's smoke or whether it's not smoke. Saying it's not smoke, leaking to me that it's not smoke is also good. We don't need to do it again. My feelings about Jared McCain are pretty clear. I would love to be wrong. He seems awesome, and he will. I think Sam's point about moving off ball and not just doing the Trae Young on ball stuff is right. That being said, part of Steph's appeal is that he can do on ball stuff at a very high level. He has burst. He has incredible finishing ability. I don't see that in McCain.
He's a sick ball handler.
Absolutely. I don't. Maybe McCain grows it. Obviously, he's young and he was good at Duke last year. That's for sure in the possibility that he improves in several areas and he's going to work at it. I just like when Steph goes to the rim, the threat of his shot is so real that, and there's so much panic to it, that he can get right to the rim every time, even though he's not crazy fast or obviously that athletic or even obviously that strong. McCain is going to be stronger than Steph is physically. But McCain gets, because he's so small and he can get it off, but he's not getting it off like in guy's face right now. He gets bumped off his spot going to the rim so regularly because guys are staying with him because he's not that fast. And his jumper, though good off the catch, is not so elite the way Steph's is, obviously best shooter of all time, that he has a built-in advantage of getting to the rim. So I don't see it. I think with the work ethic and the physicality and probably a little improvement on defense, he can be about as good as Seth. We've said that. I'm not ruling out like a Fred VanVleet style defender in there, which is obviously a really unique player, but the Nick Nurse connection and the belief in that could get him there. I don't think he's going to be a Sixer by the end of the year. I think he's going to be in whatever trade they make to get a power forward before the deadline. But look, man, kid can shoot. Kid works hard. High motor, scrappy, kind of a dog, kind of a piece of shit on the court, which I like. I would love to be wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm wrong that he's interesting and maybe a starter level player at some point. But I have him as a like pretty, he'll be in and out of a rotation for his career.
And the last thing, we got this call, and I'm sorry we're so backed up on voicemails, but this guy was so passionate, and my response when I listened to it was, I never even considered what you're asking. So I thought you needed to hear it because maybe you have seen this and I haven't. We got this to 833 Lickface.
Hey guys, non-female listener calling, and I'm driving in the car with my girlfriend. We're talking about Doc Rivers and like reminiscing about how bad Clipped was on FX. And it's crazy that you have not talked about just how bad this docudrama about fucking Glenn Rivers, and you have nothing to say about it. It's crazy. Like, the theory is that Mike is in television. He doesn't want to hurt his television friends' feelings or something. Or like, I don't know, maybe you have like a blood oath or something. You can't talk shit about other TV shows. Some kind of acknowledgement. I just need to know. You don't have to say if it was bad, if you didn't like it, but like, can you at least acknowledge that you've watched this show starring Doc Rivers and Andre Drummond and Chris Paul? I mean, the actors in the movie, the Clippers that actually have a role, they're significant roles. Like, Andre Drummond is a real character.
Yeah.
He's not in the sauna in the steam room with Doc Rivers in that recurring scene, but he's like one of the characters. Crazy. Have you just not watched his show? You have watched it. Like, you have to have watched this. Is there just nothing to say about it? It's not too long. They'll put it on. I hope. Well, if it's too long, I guess Spike will just have to cut out all the pauses.
He means DeAndre Jordan, not Andre Drummond.
Oh, right. That makes sense. Yeah. I never even considered watching this. And sometimes when people are like, hey, did you watch this show? I'm like, how much fucking time do you people have to just watch these shows that you're almost sure are going to fucking suck? Why are you wasting so much? So I haven't even considered watching it. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it. I've seen clips. The clips look interesting. It is. I haven't watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary, the scripted series either.
Okay.
Which also has similar like cast professional athletes as actors.
So does Doc Rivers play Doc Rivers in this?
No.
Okay.
It's Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay. So Doc Rivers is not actually in it, or he is in it.
No, he's not in it.
Okay.
He's not. If Doc Rivers was acting, I would watch it.
Okay.
I would watch it.
Fair.
I would watch it with a knife. I would be holding a knife the whole time. No, it is hard for me to criticize shows that are like actively on.
Yeah.
Because I work and will work with the executives on those shows, even if it is a drama that I'm not going to be making.
Right.
So it's kind of tricky for me. I didn't watch it.
Okay. Well, then you have nothing to say.
I mean, you can talk about the casting. Some of the casting is funny.
Okay.
Like JJ is in it.
Oh, great.
Is doing his thing there. Yeah, I mean, Young Rock was the Dwayne Johnson show I was on that cast a bunch of wrestlers, and it's mostly actors playing wrestlers, and it's like some of them are athletes or football players or even wrestlers themselves or whatever. But yeah, I mean, everybody gets mad because it's like, yeah, well, obviously it's not really them.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you think it was going to be them, then like,
yeah,
we got something. It's not a documentary. If it was a documentary, you couldn't get the scenes would not be as like seeming as attempted to be naturalistic.
Right.
So you either do a documentary where you're a little bit far removed, or you do a scripted show with like actors playing these. That's the problem with unrealistic athletes, is that they're like, they got to be big and physical. And they got to seem like they can be big and physical and that they can play, especially if there's going to be basketball or football or wrestling or whatever in the show. They got to buy it. You got to buy it.
Yeah.
And if you don't buy it, then, and you're a sports fan, then you're like, oh, I'm never going to buy it. That's why, like, someone mentioned that Doc Rivers was in Hustle. Yes, I saw it. I didn't love that part that Doc Rivers was acting, but at least it was a limited part for our
Hustle
friend
was
Doc.
a fine one-time watch.
Hustle was great. I was worried. And I've met with people that made it, and I was worried. I was like ready to watch it through my fingers, and it ended up being great. And the basketball and the acting, Wancho was great in that. But yeah, it's hard to do, especially in a TV show when the timeline is so accelerated and you got to shoot so much so quick. It's really hard to make good fake sports.
Yes,
it's really hard to make good fake sports. So many shows have done a bad job of it. Hustle, I thought was great. I thought the basketball in Hustle, I thought better than maybe any basketball I've ever seen.
Wow. You ever see Blue Chips?
Yeah, I thought the basketball in Blue Chips is okay.
Ah, I love the basketball.
A little dated. Yeah, no, it's fine. But it's been a long time. But yeah. Not as embarrassing. I mean, it's not like Fresh Prince level.
Yes, right. Or White Man Can't Jump level.
White Man Can't Jump basketball is good.
Except for Wesley Snipes, who plays like that's not how a basketball player plays. Even though it's working and all, you can just tell he can't play basketball.
I bought it. Woody plays.
Who would play basketball in a fucking cyclist hat? It's fucking weird.
I bought it. That movie is. I showed it to Alyssa recently. She had never seen it before, and like so much of it, it's a really weird film. It's a very odd film that would not like if they made. I mean, I know they remade it. I didn't see the remake, but the kind of movie that would not like. Most movies have like much more of a point today, and they like really are about. They're like, okay, this is the plot, and we're gonna stick to it. And it seems like those kinds of movies, and I'm not saying the 80s and 90s movies were probably better, in obviously many ways. Obviously, people know that you had more freedom and all that stuff, but like your memory of like that was great, that was so iconic, and you go back and you're like. If you made shot for shot, word for word, that movie today, there's a lot of time you're spending with them just like kind of talking shit to each other in long, drawn out, like shooting challenges.
Yes.
And it's I love it. I love that movie. But it is, if you look at it with like a less rose colored, this is a movie I've watched for, 20, 30 years. It is a little bizarre.
Well, I think there are a lot of things from movies from that era. Honestly, just thinking back to like Dawson's Creek and 90210, there's so much extra dialogue that would not happen in a normal conversation. Like the dialogue is so poetic when like people just talk smarter and have more to say and are funnier than they actually ever are. So, well, all right. Well, so this is the last pod we'll do until the Sixers have done a game, unless there's horrible news or something.
Oh no! The next time you and I talk,
yes, we'll be after
after a Sixers game.
Yeah.
It felt like
Here we go again.
One of the longest off seasons ever, and also not any time at all.
Yep.
Not any time at all.
Yep.
I'm tired of losing to New York teams, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Jack and Ike have blamed me, saying that when I moved from WFAN to WIP, we lost to the Knicks, we lost to the Mets, and they said if we lose to the Giants on Sunday, I might have to go back.
I am happy to blame you for all of this. Yeah. That's something I'm perfectly content to do.
All right. We will we'll go Sixers, and we will talk to you next time. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.